What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so before I get into this particular video, I want to give a shout out to a couple of subscribers for showing love to Too Raw for TV. I want to give a shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, the brother Robert Mason coming through with the donation to the channel. Much respect to you, man. I also want to give a shout out to the brother Aram for once again showing love to the channel. These are both two frequent contributors and two long-time subscribers to this channel, and as well as my other channel, Too Raw for Sports. I salute both of you, gentlemen. Joe Biden, the 46th President of the United States, 80 years old, and an old 80. You can be a young, vigorous 80, but he's an old 80. And once again, he reminded us why it would be quite a threat to the nation if he was reelected for a second term. So I'll put a link to this article in the pinned comment in the comment section below. So President Joe Biden was giving a speech at the National Safer Community Summit at the University of Hartford in Hartford, Connecticut. And when he ended his speech, he said something that shows you that he is not totally all there when it comes to current events or what's going on. He has these lapses. At the end of the speech, he said, quote, "God save the Queen, man. God save the Queen." That's a term that you heard often between 1952 and 2022, when Queen Elizabeth II was at the helm of England as the Queen. The problem is, she's dead. If I'm not mistaken, she's been dead since September of last year. So why would you say God save the Queen? He didn't quite save her this time. I think she's been away for quite a while now. I would say, what? How long has it been? About 9 months? So, of course, the White House tried to spin it. White House Principal Deputy Press Secretary Olivia Allaire Dalton said that Biden's remark was directed at someone in the audience. Dalton said Biden was unable to do a full rope line where he usually interacts with audience members in close spaces because he needed to leave as a storm approached. After the summit, Biden flew to Westchester County Airport to attend a $25,000 a plate fundraiser at the Greenwich home of hedge fund founder Stephen F. Mandel. So it said that he couldn't do the full rope line due to weather and was commenting to someone in the crowd. But why would he say that? Why would he say God save the Queen, man? Like I don't understand it. Maybe we're missing something. But she's dead. Why would you? Whatever. He was supposed to say God save the King or Godspeed to the King or whatever. King Charles is technically, even though he don't have any real power. He's a figurehead, but still, you're supposed to say, God save the King. King Charles. What is it, King Charles III, I think? Whatever. It's just another in a long line of increasingly ridiculous gafes that prove more and more that he shouldn't be in office. His time should have been, if he was ever to become president, he should have been president 10, 15 years ago. There's a minimum age requirement, according to the Constitution, of 35 years of age. Although I sometimes wonder if that should be raised another 10 years. But there should be a maximum age as well. But when the Constitution was written, the average age expectancy was probably somewhere around 40, Now, I knew there were people that lived longer than that. John Adams, the second president, lived to be 90. Jefferson lived to be 83. Madison lived to be 85. So there were definitely people that lived long, and some of it was that the infant mortality rate was very high, and childhood death rates were high, so that cut into it. But still, generally speaking, people didn't normally live into their late 70s and 80s the way they do today. So, the so-called founding fathers, they didn't envision that we would have an 80-year-old president. I mean, Washington was considered somewhat old, and he was 57 when he became president. So I don't know, man. I do think maybe they need to look into something, because what would happen if we have a president that developed Alzheimer's while he was in office? That would be a terrible thing to happen for the presidency, because they would have to invoke the 25th Amendment. And then you have to worry about, well, you got people that are trying to protect their jobs. They want to cover up as much as possible the president being mentally incapable. Maybe they're doing that now. Maybe they don't want to leave those cushy jobs. Maybe they want to try as long as possible to cover up the fact that the president is not all the way there all the time. But anyway, I want to talk about something else right quick before I end this video. Dr. Cornel West is now officially the presidential candidate for the Green Party. And I think he's also, at the same time, concurrently, the presidential candidate for the People's Party, or whatever that is, right? I bring that up because 2024 more than likely is going to be a very close election. And right now, I think that most of us would agree that the likely candidates will be Biden and Trump. But when you're that up in age, it's not guaranteed that it's going to work out. Plus, with Trump's legal issues, who knows? But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it's Biden and Trump. If you have a very close election, and you're Joe Biden, and more than likely you're not going to run as strongly as you did back in 2020, Dr. Cornel West, even though he has no shot at all at winning the presidency, there's only one candidate that Cornel West is really going to hurt, and that's going to be Biden, because Cornel is on the left. He's a progressive. They're going to generally vote. These are people who, if there was no Cornel West, would have held their nose and more than likely either voted for Biden or they would have stayed home. So there's a great chance, is what I'm getting at, that Cornel West could swing the election to Donald Trump. Let's just say Cornel West got 2% of the vote. Let's just say that he got 2% of the vote, even though I doubt it, because what's going to happen is, because Dr. Cornel West can hurt Biden, they're not going to talk about him a lot, especially MSNBC and CNN. They're not even going to promote his candidacy. Remember back in 2016 when, what was his name? I think he was the governor of New Mexico. What was his name? He was the Libertarian candidate. Gary Johnson. That's who it was. Remember when Gary Johnson was running, and they tried, the mainstream media, they tried as much as possible to discredit him. Remember, I think he had that, was it an interview that he had, and someone asked him, where, was it Alupa? They asked him where some location is that 99.99% of people, maybe 99.999999% of people don't know what the hell it is. He didn't know, and they just made him like he was ridiculous. Oh, well, how does he not know where that is? How does he not know where that is? Well, you don't know where it is. Joe Biden sometimes forget goddamn, that he got pants on. We're supposed to trust him with the nuclear option and shit. But this is what they do. The left media, when it's a candidate that can threaten their guy, they don't give him any exposure. Just like they're not giving any exposure right now to RFK Jr. You notice that? You ever see him on TV? But when it comes to Chris Christie, who's still polling less than 2%, anybody that can hurt Trump, they'll interview him, give him exposure. Someone that's acceptable to them, at least. Now, some of it is RFK Jr. is out of the mainstream as well, but you get the point. But anyway, Dr. Cornel West could hurt Biden enough, especially in states like, I'd say states with large electoral prizes, relatively large, like Pennsylvania, maybe even Michigan, Wisconsin, definitely. Let's try to think of other states that are pretty close. Hell, now probably even Georgia, maybe even North Carolina. States that have become a lot more competitive. Dr. Cornel West can take enough votes away that would have originally gone to Biden to swing the election to Donald Trump. He could possibly do that. There have been third-party candidates in the past that have indeed affected presidential elections. In 2000, as close as that election was, it came down to 537 votes in Florida. If you take even 70% of Ralph Nader's votes and give them to Gore, he would have carried Florida, and he would have carried New Hampshire, and that would have been the presidency. That would have been the presidency. So in a very close election, a third-party candidate can indeed be that they can be the spoiler. And in 2016, I think when you look at Gary Johnson's vote, even though, libertarians, you could argue some of them will vote Republican, but with Donald Trump, I think you could argue that the majority of Gary Johnson's votes would have probably went to Hillary, and definitely Jill Stein's votes. Although some of them would have probably stayed home, maybe a few of them would have voted for Trump, but the vast majority voted for Hillary. Had that been the case, then Hillary probably won the presidency. So third-party candidates do matter. But anyway, hope this video didn't ramble on for too long. Tell me what you guys think.